Hey, I'm Anthony Romano, and I'm going to tell you in this video why you have to stop getting your protein sources from carbs or from other foods that aren't protein. I'll explain what I mean by that in this video, but basically if you take the advice and watch this video to the end, you're going to understand how to get way better results in muscle building, fat loss cutting, from prioritizing the proper foods that actually will deliver bioavailable sources of protein and not sources of protein that are either incomplete or going to get broken down by your stomach acidity or simply just pass through your digestive tract. So let's get into the video, but before we do, if you could like the video, that will make YouTube show my content to more people, and that's all you have to do to help me grow my page. Let's get into the video. Okay, so this video exists to dispel a fitness myth, but it's not even so much of a myth, it's more so something that people just overlook and don't even really know exists. So when we're talking about getting your protein from protein and not from carbs, here's the explanation here, okay? Most people tend to look at things, especially nowadays, with this sort of quantitative lens. They look at everything as total protein count, total calorie count, but that doesn't explain what hormonal reaction or what other metabolic processes are going to take place from eating certain things. So if you eat a source of protein that isn't as bioavailable and you're just looking at total protein count, you can get somebody who eats half the amount of total daily protein from better sources, and they will get better results with muscle building, with fat loss cutting, keeping muscle. They will get far better results and more nutritional precursors to, positive neurotransmitters in the brain, other things that amino acids will build up in the body. So I want you to first ditch the idea that fitness goals are simply a quantitative thing. There's a whole element of quality, and if you watch my other videos, you can learn more about that. But when we're looking at carbs and the proteins they contain, this is the main problem. Most of the carb sources, so oats, quinoa, even vegetables, seeds, those things, when we're looking at the protein types in those foods, they're, first of all, less bioavailable. Why? Because they're normally contained in antinutrients. The protein is normally bound to antinutrients. What are antinutrients? Those are things like phytic acid, oxalate, saponins, lectins as well. And what that basically means is this is sort of the defense mechanism of the grain or the plant, because plants and grains want to live just as much as you and I do, and they can't fight. They can't fight or flee, so they have to deter predators from eating them in excess. So the way they do that is by making the beneficial parts of the food less bioavailable so that the animal that ate them is less likely to come back. So that's their defense mechanism. It's a deterrent. And when we're actually breaking down the concrete evidence here, when you have, a couple grams of protein in a bowl of oats, there's virtually no point in counting that towards your daily protein intake, because most of those proteins are bound to phytic acid in the oats. This is why some people will make overnight oats to get rid of the phytic acid. However, by doing that, you're getting rid of the protein at the same time. But again, it's not even a complete protein. This is why if you take a food like eggs, which are a complete protein, there's no other inhibitions of the protein absorption occurring. When you look at foods like broccoli, for example, if you are eating broccoli, it should not be for the purpose of protein. It should be for the purpose of, maybe you want to get some fiber in the day, or maybe you're in a cutting scenario and you want to have a less calorie dense food, okay? You should not be eating things like broccoli for the purpose of protein. Again, the amino acid variants in the foods that are commonly known as carb foods, right? We just happen to look at their carb count as the primary factor of what we classify them as. Those foods are not going to have the most bioavailable sources. When we look at seeds are one of the most problematic foods for this purpose of this video, because a lot of people look at seeds like hemp seeds or pumpkin seeds, chia seeds. They'll look at these foods and say, oh, look, they have higher protein count, especially compared to other foods like oats, like broccoli, other veggies. They have way higher protein count. The thing is, it helps you understand the whole anti-nutrient thing if I explain seeds, because for seeds, these are, again, foods that carry offspring for plants. and they want to pass through the digestive system and then get planted in human fertilizer, which is shit. Okay, that is their purpose in evolutionary history. So when you think of seeds, the shells don't really break down in your stomach acidity. They're meant to pass through. That is where most of the protein is contained. Most of the protein in the anti-nutrients are meant to pass through the human digestive tract or other animals' digestive tract, and the protein happens to be bound to those anti-nutrients. So and think about it, protein is a building block. It's the nitrogen of the food. It is the harder shell that is the basically protective layer of a thing like a seed. And that's of course where the offspring would need the most protection, on the outside layer, so it can pass through the digestive system. Okay, so seeds and the proteins from seeds are virtually indigestible. The bioavailability of those proteins is negligible. It's nil. It's close to none. And even seeds like pumpkin seeds that have higher grams of protein per serving, or hemp seeds, these are again things that are meant to pass through and provide basically no protein to you, just to protect the actual seed so it can get into fertilizer. So, and again, besides the fact that too many seeds is going to mess up your digestive system, we're not meant to eat huge amounts of seeds. Our digestive system is meant to break things down and not just have things pass through. This is why cows have 5 stomachs, and rabbits and other animals will eat and their own shit basically after they digest it 3 or 4 times. We don't have that digestive system. We have the digestive system of scavengers and carnivores mixed together. That is our omnivorous digestive system. So we're not meant to eat the seeds in excess. So the last thing I want to end on here is the variety of amino acids in each protein source. So when we're looking at a thing like eggs or a thing like chicken or steak, they're going to contain more of the essential amino acids. These are ones that your body cannot make. And if you are eating a food that is solely essential amino acids, and then you have another protein source that has all the non-essential ones that your body can make, if you have 2 people doing either of those approaches, who is going to get more benefit to their body? The person who's slamming their body with the amino acids they can already make, or the person who's supplying their body with essential ones that it has to acquire from food? Even if you have half the quantity in the person who's eating the essentials, they're going to get more benefit. And this doesn't mean you have to be meticulous about, getting in, looking at the essential amino acid quantity of every single food. It simply means that after having understood the evolutionary purpose of certain foods, and having understood that most of the proteins are bound by anti-nutrients in a lot of plant and grain foods, even wheat proteins. People are allergic to gluten and wheat proteins because the protein part is indigestible. People are allergic to this on a daily basis. We don't even, think about it in the fitness context. When you understand all that, the takeaway from this video is, if you're going to eat your oats, eat them for the purpose of a complex carb. Eat them for the purpose of a little bit of workout fuel if you're currently using carbs in your diet. That's the purpose of oats. If you're eating broccoli, have it for the sake of getting some fiber if you want fiber that day. And have it for the sake of maybe you're on a low-calorie diet, which you shouldn't be too low anyways, because that'll make you gain more fat. Watch my video on it. And you should use foods for the purposes they're designed for, basically, in our evolutionary history. Not for the purpose of hitting an arbitrary protein count without any regard to the quality of the protein itself. So the essential amino acids, the variety of amino acids that are in each food, and their bioavailability, respectively. So if you're going to eat your proteins, have, your eggs, have your chicken breast, have your steak, have some fish. Things like that are going to provide better sources of protein. If you're somebody who's eating a more vegetarian, pea protein isolate is basically the only plant protein I would say is better. So opt for that, for example. But even at the end of the day, a lot of these foods that do contain the essential amino acids will come packaged with fat, because fat helps your body actually use the protein and convert it into amino acids in your liver. You need energy to convert protein into where it needs to go and what it needs to be in the body. So you need that fat, and I have an entire video on how lean protein, where people just eat chicken breast and broccoli all day, they're basically taxing their body and creating more inflammation than necessary, because you're basically you're providing the essential amino acids without any fat together, where it naturally would have been contained. Because think about it, chicken breast doesn't exist in nature, there's just a whole chicken. Egg whites don't exist in nature, there's just a whole egg, okay? When you take it a step further, packaging these protein sources that are complete with the appropriate fatty acids they would have naturally contained in nature is going to help your body even more. And step 1 is realizing that oats are not a significant source of protein. Seeds are not a significant source of protein. They don't really help you at all, but oats can. So with your oats, have them for the purpose of a carb source. Don't have them for the purpose of a protein source. And you can stretch that example for the other things I spoke about in this video. But then the second step is Then you go about finding complete whole food sources, such as, whole eggs instead of egg whites, okay? And on that note, half of the amino acids are in the egg white, the other half are in the yolk. So it comes down to, again, understanding the quality of proteins, not simply the quantity. And from there, you don't have to get overly meticulous. You just simply know, hey, I don't even really have to count the protein I get from this bowl of oats. Okay, that's kind of where you have to look at things. And that is essentially the gist of this video. Hopefully it dispelled a myth for you and changed, how you're going to approach fitness goals, especially when it comes to muscle building. And, leave me some questions down below in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. And stay tuned for my other programs and books dropping on my website. I encourage you to keep checking up on that to see when everything is out. And I'd be happy to, discuss more stuff with you in the comment section. Okay? Anthony Romano, peace.